Hi, Kate.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Wow, this is a doozy.
I know, I know. We got a lot of people coming on. We might even go to capacity, which is great. So I am recording everybody just so you guys know. I am
Mhm.
sharing this to YouTube just because I believe in full transparency. So this will be recorded. I've got a bunch more people coming in to the waiting room, but the legislators that we have on as guests tonight are kind of pressed for time because they
Of course.
are, reading bills and everything right now. So we will go ahead and let everybody join, and then I'm going to give them the floor.
All right.
But
Thank you
nice
so
to see
much,
you,
Kate.
Marcella.
No
Yes.
problem. Thank you. Bye now.
All right. Great. So, all right, guys. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. So, I just wanted to start by grounding everybody in what's happening. So, last week, hundreds of us showed up at the Capitol. More than 7,000 pieces of opposition testimony were submitted in opposition to two bills, SB 450 and HB 5044. So, we went and we opposed that in the Public Health Committee again last week. So that level of engagement is not really normal. People are paying attention. So, I'm really happy to see so many people joining here. I think we're now at capacity. So that's great. So a major part of the reason why we were opposing those two bills last week was because of the removal of the Legislative Regulation Review Committee, which is really the last bipartisan checkpoint we have in Hartford when it comes to vaccines being added to any kind of immunization schedule. So, what I heard after that public hearing and kind of during the public hearing, the feedback I kind of got was they might meet us halfway and keep that safeguard in place. The rest of the bill is still horrible, but we were hearing they might remove that provision from the bill. But then, no less than 2 days later, they introduced HB 5554, which it doesn't remove the committee. It changes the way the structure of the committee is built. So tonight I do have two, again, legislators with me. I have Senator Rob Sampson and I have State Representative Gail Mastrofrancesco. Their time again is limited, so I do want to give them the floor and let you guys walk you guys through the process. Again, this is not the Public Health Committee. This is the Government Administration and Elections Committee. So just please pay attention to that. And with that, guys, please go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so Kate, I guess I'll go first. Thank you so much for inviting us. And I'm so excited that we got this really good group of people ready, willing, and able to start making inroads on this issue. Um, I don't know exactly where to start other than to say the public hearing is coming up on Wednesday as described. Uh, this is a bill that's been around for the last couple of years, but it's always kind of been just a task force, a study, and I think it's been floating around by the majority kind of as a threat to remake this committee, which is the last truly bipartisan committee in the legislature, into no longer a bipartisan committee. You guys probably know that the Democrats have 2-to-1 majorities in both the House and Senate. So most of the various committees that we are used to, like public health and so forth, they have twice as many or more Democrats than Republicans. And the Democrats control everything about those committees, the agendas, what gets heard and when. And obviously, they have more votes. As a protection against a majority having too much power, the legislature historically has had two nonpartisan or bipartisan committees with equal membership, regardless of whether the Democrats control more seats or not. There was always an equal number of Democrats and Republicans on two committees. One of them was program review and investigations, and the other one is regs review, which is the one that we're referring to today. And so Gail and I serve on the Government Administration and Elections Committee, where we tend to do a lot of legislation having to do with elections, but also government administration. So this bill, the one that we're referring to, House Bill 5554, simply what it does is it takes and changes the makeup of the Regulation Review Committee from being completely even, 7 Republicans, 7 Democrats. In order to change something, you effectively have got to get one member from either side to switch. And they want to change that. And the language in the bill would change that purely even equal representation to proportional based on the membership of the legislature, effectively handing total control of that committee to the Democrats. And what Kate's describing to you is just one out of hundreds of different circumstances where that will matter. And this one obviously is important to the people on this call, and it's important to me, which is that if they decide that they're going to shift the decision-making on the medical mandate or a vaccine mandate to the Regs Review Committee, the fact that we would lose our bipartisan ability to stop things is terrifying in my view. I'll just say a couple of quick more words, and then I will turn it over to Gail, which is that there are other reasons why this might be before us, but it doesn't matter because this is a good enough reason to get involved anyway. The Regs Review Committee has in the past stopped the EV mandate, the one that would have said that we were going to have to follow California emission standards, or that we were going to have more electric chargers all over the state at taxpayers' expense, even though we don't have the ability to produce the energy. It's also something that was brought up within the last year that caused a bill that was proposed by the House Majority Leader, Jason Rojas, which would have changed something having to do with a housing requirement that he was very, very, very dead set on as part of the big affordable housing bill that he did. So that the Republicans on that Regs Review Committee actually stopped him in his tracks. So this might be a little bit of revenge for that, but I see that this is all connected. And all that really we need to know is the Democrats are here trying to take more power away, not just from Republicans, but the people of Connecticut by basically limiting the number of voices that are heard. So it's super important that we get involved. Kate, I don't know if you want to talk about how we're going to, how people testify and stuff like that. Are you going to talk them through that, or should we have Gail do that?
Yeah, I think that'd be great if Gail, I would love for you guys to speak for as long as you can. You guys do this all the time. My following here is a mixture of people that have been doing this for as long as me and people that have never done this before and are very confused. So I would say let's keep it as basic as possible. And again, I know your guys' time is limited, so thank you guys again so much for joining us. I actually just upgraded my Zoom plan to include more people, so that's great.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, thanks for having us here. I'm happy to do whatever we need to do for your group. I am a hardcore supporter of your group. And I know Senator Sampson is as well. I have to tell you that, some people say that, they're a one issue candidate, and sometimes there's a topic that they're really passionate about. The vaccines is one to me that they can ever even mandate that you take a shot is just mind boggling to me. But I just wanted to just add something to what Senator Sampson, a little bit about Regs Review. Right now there's 14 members. I don't know if people know that it's 7-7. And like Senator Sampson's mentioned that they were successful in stopping the EV mandates. And many times there's things that go through there that even if it's 7-7, if a vote is not struck down by the majority, it's deemed approved. So you can have a vote of 7-7 and it still gets approved, which goes to possibly why they are probably trying to give the majority more for the Democrats. The other thing that they're doing in this bill that I noticed that right now you have 2 co-chairs, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, 2 rankings, 1 Democrat and Republican. They are removing that language completely. So obviously the ranking and the co-chairs will be obviously the majority party. So it's really important that everybody get involved and testify. If you can't, I know these public hearings go on for a long time. It gets really frustrating. And a lot of times committees don't let you juggle around. Like some people may want to move up to the front. They can't be there. They need to get out and they switch their places. I'm not sure how that worked for you last time, Kate. I know there were people trying to move around. It all depends on the chair of that committee of what they'll do. But what I can tell you is that if you just submit testimony, Kate, you put it on, I think you put it in the chat. But if you're ever looking to see where you can submit testimony for certain public hearing, if you go to the CGA site, the main page, on the left there, there's a thing that's called bulletins. And if you click on that bulletin and you read through it, all the public hearings that are coming up, because they need to be posted within 5 days, the information is there, the bills that are there, and there's also a link on how to submit testimony and to testify.
And I've put all that in the chat, Gail, because it's really confusing. I have to say, as somebody that, develops websites for a living, my God, is it hard to find the links that you need to find to sign up for stuff. So I make it really easy, guys. It's all over my Facebook page. I have 2 links, one to sign up for the public hearing to testify, whether it's in Zoom or in person, and the other one is to submit written testimony. We need to blow this out of the water in less than 24 hours. The deadline is tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Right.
Again, the links are in the chat. The links are on my socials. So please go there and go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, any type of testimony that you can put in is very helpful. When you put it anonymous, you just put 1 sentence in there, they kind of bypass it. But I can tell you that legislators do read testimony. I don't know if they're going to read 2,000 pieces, but they definitely do read it. I know we do as well. So if you can just write a paragraph with your opposition to it. And if you have to testify, I know it's hard because everybody's new and maybe they haven't testified before, but just think of it as if you're on your Zoom, your computer, you're just reading a piece of paper. Don't need to be nervous. The legislators, you have to remember, is that we work for you. You are our bosses. So if anything, we should be nervous, right? That's pretty much the way it should be. So don't be nervous. We're here to support you. I don't know if Kate, if there's questions that people have, and we can certainly take some questions that sometimes it's a little easier so we kind of know what's on their mind.
Sure. Yeah, that would be great. I think some people are, again, just looking for kind of what they should say in their testimony. And again, this bill is HB 5554. And what it does is it removes like the bipartisan aspect
Right.
of this legislative regulatory review committee. So
Right.
forever, it's been 14 seats, 7 Republicans and 7 Democrats. They're changing that language. And again, the bill is in the chat. So please click on the bill. All the things that are underlined in the bill are what's changing. They're changing it to say that however many seats we hold in the Senate and the House, that's how many seats we get on the committee.
Yeah.
So Gail, do you want to speak to that?
No, I
And
just
Rob?
want to say you're absolutely right. Your testimony could speak to how it's bipartisan, and when it's bipartisan there, it creates checks and balances. What they're doing, they're taking that all away. So I would focus on the bipartisanship of it. Listen, the Democrats have had control of the state for more than 40 years, I believe, and they've always had the majority. So if this is like our last committee that we have bipartisanship on. So it's real important. And I would actually just focus on that and how important that is.
I'll just add to that, Gail, which is that, the Regulations Review Committee is not like a committee that makes policy like the Public Health Committee or the Education Committee. The Regs Review Committee is really about implementing policy. It's really about fairness. It's about how laws that are created are going to be addressed out in the real world. And that's why it's so important that the regulations that are created are actually done in a fair and bipartisan way. I wish a lot of other things were done that way. Like I always say that the election laws we have, those are the rules of the game, right? That we get elected by. Those things should be done in a bipartisan way. But the rules that our state agencies are meant to follow, they should be done in a way that is actually fair to all the citizens, regardless of their political affiliation.
Right.
And that's why these committees have existed. And it was such a shock and so shameful when they got rid of program review. And now, what's so funny is we actually have other bills on the agenda to actually bring back the program review committee. Of course, the Democrats, they want to bring it back the same way they're trying to turn the Regs Review Committee into, which is a typical committee that has a majority and a minority. But this is our last stand, really, to keep at least one nonpartisan equal committee in the legislature. And I think it's very short-sighted because the Democrats are not going to control the state government forever. And when it flips, if they give up this, they claim this power now, they're going to lose it later. But I think it's just symptomatic of what's going on right now, which is that I think that they are getting caught almost daily overreaching, trying to silence people, trying to grab more and more power. And this is just another example of that. And we've got to be the rapid reaction team to stop them in their tracks.
Yeah, and you make a good point. By making this partisan with more majority for Democrats, they're truly putting politics and personal opinion into what their real job function is. Like Senator Sampson said, it's not a committee where they're voting out law. Their job really is just to review the regulations that are proposed by the agencies and to make sure that they are implemented. And by taking
Oh no, Gail, you're muted. Wait,
Oh.
Go ahead. I don't know how. Go ahead, Gail. You're back on.
My bad. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Their job really is to just review the regulations that were proposed by the state agencies and make sure that they are correct and that they are implemented. So by making it more of a majority for one party or another, they're really bringing politics into it. You know what? It almost reminds me of the Supreme Court, where the Democrats want to stack the Supreme Court when they get in power, because if they don't get their way, they stack the deck. And that's basically what they're doing here.
Yeah, so to be, really fair and, for the people that want to submit testimony but don't really know what to say, just remember what Gail said earlier. They're not really going to read testimony if it's just a one-liner that says you oppose the bill. Try to give a paragraph. We're trying to give you the backstory here, but the bottom line is right now it takes away the bipartisan aspect. And with the bills that we were advocating against last week, those are vaccine mandate bills. We're really concerned about those bills passing without some kind of bipartisan checkpoint. I mean, there's really no oversight on adding vaccines to the schedule. They're getting their way anyway. So I want everybody to catch that the bills are connected, because it's ridiculous, and that, that's sneaky in itself, and people should be called out on that. But also that it really removes, again, that bipartisan checkpoint, and it's really unfair. We want it to stay there, right? We're very interested in it staying there. People have good testimony examples in the chat too, so I encourage you to go look in the chat. I'm just looking through for questions.
Yeah, Kate, let me just say one more thing. If people submit testimony and they talk about whether vaccines or homeschooling or anything like that, the chairs may call them out and say that's not relevant to what we're dealing with. The bill is for today, right? So I would keep the focus on bipartisanship, transparency.
Transparency, yeah, I think that's a big one.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says, does it help to have people there Wednesday when they go into their meeting? I have to leave at 10:45. So, Gail, do you want to kind of explain how the meeting's going to go? Because you have a lot of bills that day.
So can you repeat the question again, Kate? I couldn't hear you.
Someone was asking if it helps to have people there Wednesday. This person said they have to leave by 10:45. It definitely helps to have people there, but Gail, maybe you could explain kind of the layout of the day. You have a lot of bills that day to be heard, so.
Right. And we don't know how many people are going to be testifying. We won't get that list until 6 p.m. the night before, which will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. We'll be able to see how many people are testifying. But it obviously always helps when you have a lot of people in the room. And the drill from the last time. You can't hold signs up over your head. They got to be at your waist. There's no clapping in there. You can certainly, wave your hands and so forth. But yes, it definitely helps when there's a lot of people there.
Yes. Okay, so as someone who has submitted detailed written testimony and testified in person for the first time last week, do committees weigh written and in person evenly? Like, what is the standard engagement counts? I would say in person is pretty strong. So when it comes to testify in person, what do you think, Gail?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. If you're there in person, you took the time to come down. When you're on Zoom as well, people are listening, but definitely in person is much better if you can get there. But if you can't, Zoom is fine.
I think it's important when people sign up for hearings too. Like last week for the bills, we had 550 people sign up, and they limited the hearing time to like 15. They cut it at midnight, basically 12:15. So it looks it looks like controlled on their side, you know, that they're controlling the size of the hearing. I mean, they are. It's unfortunate, but you know, so I would say sign up. You have to do, you should really do both. You don't have to, but you should really do both. And they don't have to be the same thing.
Right.
Your spoken testimony is probably usually a little shorter, but I guess it depends on how much you want to write. Okay, we
Yeah.
got a lot of comments
There
here,
are
Gail.
22 items on this agenda, so there will be people speaking on a whole multitude of things.
Right.
You know, the chairs of this committee are Senator May Flexer
Oh,
and
yay.
and Representative Matt Blumenthal.
Oh,
And
wow. I've never been over here to this committee. I'm always in public health. I'm so
oh
excited to
yes,
come hang out with you guys.
it's such a joy, Kate. Let me tell you. I mean, I want to say that, you know, I have my own issues with the two of them, but I think generally speaking, they're pretty fair about the way they treat people as far as testimony goes. So I think that that's at least a good thing. They're usually pretty good about sharing the list with us. You know, we have different, different committees and different relationships with different members of the majority. And so we will try and be as helpful as we can. So if people have issues that day about getting their place in line or any concern like that or a technical thing, we will certainly can try and help. My advice is that, long testimony is probably not helpful in this case since it's a fairly simple kind of bill.
Yeah.
Speak to transparency, speak to fairness, speak to, using the majority to take power. It's bad enough that they're using the majority to pass policies that they prefer, despite the objections of the minority, but now they're taking power away from the minority too. And I think that that is a really big and important point. I like to give in testimony that is policy based, but then when I speak in person, I'm like, well, I submitted my testimony so you can hear what I have to say about the policy. But my opinion about this is that, you guys are doing XYZ. And if you keep this up, I'm going to work very hard to make sure that you never get reelected. I mean, I like to put the emotion and the passion into the message because frankly, that's what elected officials respond to. Most of these people are making policy to satisfy their supporters. If they realize there's a lot of other people out there that disagree, they might just have a little more caution, particularly lawmakers that represent districts that might be swing districts. I always say those are the people you lean on because not only can you sway their opinion a little more easier, but they have a tendency to go to their leadership and say, I don't want to vote on this either way because I don't want to get beat up in my district. It's an election year, etc. So I'm not suggesting that that has a lot to do with this providing testimony on this day, but the whole message of how this connects to whether or not you are going to support a political party or candidates going forward, I think is important.
Yeah, and let me just add one more thing, Kate, real quickly.
Yep.
When you're testifying, a lot of times the representatives, people come up and they don't really know, unless they know you personally, they don't know whether you are one of our constituents, whether you live in our district or not. And I can tell you that legislators pay very close attention when somebody is speaking that's one of their constituents. So if you're speaking, if you mention your name, obviously mention the town that you come from, because one of these legislators may represent your town, and that will make them pay attention for sure.
So I did want to just remind everybody, I think there's a lot of people that are here that were on the calls that we did for SB 450 and HB 5044 with Senator Summers and Representative Ann Daphne and Senator Fazio. It's the same kind of thing. It's really, I think, good, strong testimony to say your name if you're comfortable, introduce yourself, obviously, in the town that you're from, because like they said, it's really important for them to know where you're from because it's an election year. And you can even close all your testimony. You guys can close with, it's an election year. I started CTRAMM in Eastern Connecticut, and May Flexer's district is over here, and May Flexer does not win by a lot of votes. So if I have a lot of people following me on this call that, let May Flexer know that they're coming up for this hearing and they don't support this bill and they'll be voting, in this election, these are the kinds of things that do matter. Those are the kinds of things that they listen to.
Yeah.
So that, really that's really it. So it could be really as simple as that. Everybody's unique in where they come from. I know some people are concerned about, their identity when it comes to vaccines. This has nothing to do with vaccines, guys. This bill has there's nothing with the word immunization written in this, so it's not controversial. This is probably one of the least controversial bills I've ever advocated against.
But
As
it
far
has a
it is
profound
controversial,
impact.
but as far as the wording, you know what I mean? So anyway, guys, it is really important for people to get involved. I know a lot of people are asking, how is this constitutional? How is this fair? Maybe you guys can speak to that a little bit.
Well, the lawmakers make the laws. So, I mean, I don't really know another way to describe it than that. I mean, it's not unconstitutional. The legislature decides for itself how it's going to govern itself. In fact, we pass rules every year that the legislature creates, and the majority obviously puts together those rules. So there's a lot of things that are unfair about our system. But thankfully, we do have checks and balances in the form of these bipartisan committees like Regs Review, the judicial branch, the court system. We have the Constitution to lean on. I would say that, the vast majority of people in the building are probably going to be opposed to this bill from a ideological standpoint. Now, that doesn't mean that the Democrats ultimately wouldn't vote for it if it actually went on the floor. But if you start to challenge people and say, why are you voting to get rid of the one fair bipartisan committee that governs regulations in the state? I can guarantee you that almost all of them would start backpedaling.
Yes.
I think we have them on the lack of popularity as far as a policy goes. So, I mean, I really think that that's the message for people, is to really challenge them. I'm like, what do you think you're trying to achieve here by getting rid of the only bipartisan committee in the legislature?
Yeah. Yeah. And it'll be interesting. So after the public hearing, we'll have 2 more meetings left. We'll have a meeting on Friday to vote bills out of committee, and we'll have another one on Monday. So one of those 2 days, this bill would most likely be put on the agenda to be voted out of committee.
Okay, and good guys, please again check the chat. I just copy pasted again the link to sign up for online. So it would be Zoom online testimony or in person. So if you sign up for online testimony, you'll get a link emailed to you that you would join via Zoom, or you go in person and then you register. When you get there, you get the list, the speaker order, and you just sign in when you're there, or go up to speak when you're there.
Yeah.
But also submit public testimony. The link's in there. Again, it's public, so don't put your address on it. Don't put your phone number on it, but you can definitely put your town on it. Let them know where you're from, or at least your district, something like that. But it's an election year, so remind people of that. When you go to the testimony page, you have to select the hearing date. So it's March 18th, 10:30. Then you have to select the bill number from the drop down. There's so many bills being heard that day, so you have to really scroll down. Again, it's HB 5554, the membership of the Legislation Review Regulation Review Committee, an agency reports concerning a review of regulations. I'm sorry, that was a mouthful. I'm very tired.
Yeah, and don't forget, guys, keep it to the topic of the bill, because if you start going off and talking about other things, I think they're going to stop you, and the press will pick up on that. We want the press to pick up on how this is the only bipartisan committee that we have here, and how they are trying to destroy that, because that's going to be a tough no. That's going to be a tough yes vote, I think, for the Democrats.
Somebody asked a good question, Gail. Do you know how long the bipartisan, this committee's been in existence, the Regulatory Review Committee?
I think it's been around since like 1970s.
Okay.
Yep. Been around since the 70s, I think, the 70s.
We should take a lot of questions rather than opining here, but I do want to just bring up something that I think is kind of important for people to know and understand, which is that, regulations are a tremendous frustration for people that really want to have representative government to begin with. We elect people to serve in our town governments, our state legislature, and the federal government, and those people are our representatives, and they're supposed to be making the decisions, right? So what's frustrating for me is watching government grow and watching legislation be created where we don't actually make the decision anymore. What we do is we create an agency or a person or an entity that creates regulations to actually govern certain things. And to me, that's like no way to do anything, right? That's how PURA was created, for example. The legislature used to vote on electric rates, right? Now that was better because the lawmakers had to be accountable to their voters about whether they voted to raise electric rates. So what did they do? They created PURA, the Public Utility Regulatory Authority. Not initially, it was another thing before that. But the idea behind that bureaucracy is now that they can say, oh, I didn't do it. PURA did it. So you have this unregulated entity that's out there making decisions. And this happens all the time. So we see bills that say the Department of whatever, the Commissioner of Public Health or Motor Vehicles or Transportation or Agriculture, you name it, it will make regulations. Even the Secretary of State will make regulations governing election laws. And I always fight this because I want to make sure that most of it is accountable back to the representatives of the actual people. But the reason I'm bringing this all up is because that's how important this Regulations Review Committee is. If you're going to write policy that empowers regulation being created, you need to have a fair mechanism to implement that regulation. This proposed bill eliminates that fairness. That is what I think horrific about it. It is a major power grab.
I really do think it is too. And I don't know, it's a little confusing. It says it adds the word appointing authority to the Speaker of the House. It says 6 and 6. So in the odd year by the Speaker appointing authority and 6 members of the Senate, 3 from each majority party. I'm concerned about what additional power this gives to the Speaker of the House too. So again, the bill, I'm going to put just the bill in the chat for people to read. Understand that anything that's underlined is what's changing. I know it's not that long at all. It's only 3 pages. No. So just look at the bill and read it, and anything that's underlined is what's changed. So this is what we're opposing. Basically, a Cliff Notes version of this is it makes it no longer 7 and 7. Now they're changing it per, whatever the majority has in the Senate and in the House. So
anything underlined is new language. Anything in brackets is being removed.
That's what exactly right. Yep.
So thank you guys all for submitting your testimony. I want to let you guys know too, before we go to bed, I'm going to add all this information to CTRAMM.com. Just going to put our website in the chat for everybody. I'm sure most of you guys know what it is, but you guys can go here. I'll have the links for everybody to sign up because I know Facebook is notorious for kind of just losing stuff in the feed. Again, we'll have links to sign up to testify in person or via Zoom. We'll have links to submit written testimony. We want to have, as many written testimonies as we can, guys. Again, please, if you're comfortable, include the town that you're from. Let them know that you're watching and it's an election year. Big points right there. And keep vaccines out of it. It really, ties to these bills that we were advocating for last week, but it ties to so much more than that. This is a bipartisan checkpoint that we do not want to lose, and that's what we need to focus on in our testimony. So thank you so much, Gail and Rob, for joining us. I know you guys are really busy. I'm not going to keep you any longer. Again, anything else you guys want to say?
I just want to address your appointing authority question. We didn't bring it up because it gets a little more technical, but currently the appointing authority of the Regs Review Committee is the majority leadership gets to choose the majority party members and the minority leadership gets to choose the minority members. And this is changing so that the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, the majority party, chooses all the members. Now they have to choose some from the minority, but they get to pick them all.
Right.
So more power. So I'm glad that you explained that, Rob, because that's another important thing people can testify in opposition of. Speaker of the House, Matt Ritter, does not need any more power. I will say that myself. So I don't mind going on record saying that.
Well, they're just basically shutting out the minority party, regardless of whether it was Democrats in control or Republicans, but they're just shutting out the minority party.
In some element of fairness, I do think that this is the way the other legislative committees are arranged. Now, normally the minority leadership gets to choose which of their minority members get to go and serve as the various members of the committees, but it's blessed by the majority. They have to say it's okay. And I think that that's all they're doing here is they're just setting this committee up so it's done like all the other committees that are fully partisan with a clear majority and majority members as chairs who set the agenda and decide everything that happens.
Well, I think it's important that we call them on it, guys. Quite honestly, I do think it's important. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And thanks everyone for joining us. Please submit your testimony. And again, please understand there's a 3 p.m. cutoff tomorrow to sign up for testifying in person or remote. You can submit testimony though for how long after written testimony? Do you guys know?
It depends on the committee. There's
Yeah.
no
Okay.
hard and fast day. Some committees will stop posting it immediately, and other committees
Okay.
will take it indefinitely. I would not
Okay.
fret over this. I would not worry about making it exact or checking your grammar or punctuation. I wouldn't do any of that. I would write down what you know and what you think about this and get it submitted.
Yep.
I agree.
Okay, guys. I think that's good. So for people asking in the chat for a framework of testimony, please go to my socials. We're going to be sharing stuff there, and to the website ctram.com. We'll share some basic key points of this bill that you guys can pull into your testimony. And again, if anybody wants to rewatch this video, this has been recorded and will be posted to my Facebook and to ctram.com. So take 30 minutes out of your time in the next really 20 hours to watch this if you want to sign up to testify, prepare yourself, or really 24 hours and submit written testimony. All right, guys, have a great night.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thanks.